I'd like to welcome to the platform, please, Julie Hyde, who is the Director of Business at Cash, or Cachet. I never quite know how to pronounce this.
But no.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Right, now let's see if we can get this to work. Okay, brilliant. So just a little bit about us, just in case you're not familiar. Cash has been around since 1945, so delivering childcare and education qualifications for 72 years. And we were actually established as the NNEB by the Ministry of Health. And I think that's really important to remember that childcare, the NNEB, was set up by the Ministry of Health for the health and well-being of children after the Second World War. And it was to manage the care of war orphans that the NNEB was first devised. Now that's a long time ago, and a lot of things have changed, and we've had many iterations over that time. But within all of that, finding a clear path for our learners has been really, really important, and finding the right qualification to be able to do for our sector is really important, and never more so than now. The skills plan will be being implemented, and we're going to see that being further announced, and there'll be 3 very distinct routes for young people. A-level or applied general route, apprenticeship route, which is why we're here today, and the technical and professional route. But please think very carefully, because the apprenticeship standard will form the core content of the technical and professional qualifications. And I think that's really, really important. Because what we're saying is that that content that's devised for our apprentices in all sectors becomes the core content of everything that's developed for young people from 16 to 19 years of age. And that's what will be funded. And that's really important. So I think never before has there been more importance on a set of standards being developed, that we have to make sure that they are right for the sector, meet the needs of the employers, and meet the needs of the learners. So, you choose one of your paths, and off you go on your journey. And that journey will start with your qualifications in whichever format they may take. And the commitment to apprenticeships now has never been stronger. We all know that. But actually, as we celebrate that, we have to also think about what we as awarding organisations and assessment organisations need to do to support the delivery of all of those qualifications. We have a responsibility to ensure that all apprentices and all young people who are learning have the materials and resources to be able to complete successfully their qualifications and their pathways. Now, within Cash, we offer qualifications within all of these areas. And the reason I'm showing you this is because we know there are many, many challenges for training, but we're going to support these areas of training. We have done for a long time, and we will continue to do so. And I think what's really important to remember is that organisations who have worked in the vocational area have been set up to deliver training holistically for our young people for a long, long time. This isn't new for us. This is what we do, and it's what we do exceptionally well. So there's many challenges. I'm not going to repeat what they are, because I'm sure you're sick of hearing levy being mentioned and funding being mentioned, and endpoint assessment, which is now becoming far more defined. And I'll get shot by somebody if I don't say that we are an endpoint assessment organisation, and we also have EPAs that cover the following standards, and there will be more as they become available. And we are supporting you to be able to deliver your endpoint assessment. So if you want any further information on that, please don't hesitate to contact us and our specialists. But just in thinking about the standards, we've had a slight glitch in our sector with the early years apprenticeship standard. And I can't stand here today and not mention this. So the clock's ticking on this at this moment in time. When I stood here, not here, but at your conference a few months ago, I did say that we were campaigning for a significant change in our sector. We were campaigning to get functional skills added to the accepted list of qualifications for entry as a level 3 practitioner. So all of the sectors, all of the frameworks, all of the standards accepted functional skills, except for the level 3 early years educator, which would only accept a grade C or above in maths and English. And so we were campaigning for this to be changed. And you can see there the organisations that were supporting us. This was across the sector. This was awarding organisations, deliverers, everybody supporting the sector to make this change. And what we actually initiated from this was a consultation. The Department for Education, under Caroline Dinage, put a consultation out on the 5th of November last year, which ran until Christmas, consulting on maths and English. And I'm sure a lot of you would have fed into that. So that consultation had over 4,000 responses. Now, the bit that's really interesting here for me is that when the consultation was done in 2014, in order to put maths and English, GCSE, into the early years educator standard, there were just over 300 people consulted on that. Whereas over 4,000 responded to this. My question to the sector is, I wish those 4,000 had said something in 2014, but there we are. So, what happened? Well, on Friday, you did it. We secured functional skills as accepted for early years, level 3 educators, so we influenced the government to make that change. I think it's really important to say that the power of all those people within the sector who were struggling made that change happen. And what we can do when we all come together to do what is right. So the documentation and the workforce strategy was put out on Friday. Caroline Dinage announced that at the Childcare Expo, of which I was sitting about 2 yards away from her, along with June, who's speaking after me. And the applause in the room was immense. I've never seen anything like that. And not just in the room, but in all the people that were standing outside waiting for the outcome. This is a significant change because of the challenge that we've had. Now, what I also want to mention here, for any of you who drew down the workforce strategy on Friday, there has been an amend made to it since Friday, because I think there was a typo. And I'm just going to tell you where it is in case you're making a note. So on page 13, it says, action we will take, and the sentence that you need to read is, this change will impact anyone who already holds an EYE qualification, began studying an EYE since September 2014. The document on Friday said 16. So since September 2014, or takes up an EYE in the future. So that means every single learner who has registered on the level 3 since the 1st of September 2014, the functional skills, maths and English at level 2 are now accepted, as well as GCSE, maths and English grade C and above. Okay. The little footer after the Minister's announcement of the document on the workforce strategy, there's some information about functional skills, and it actually says, level 2 is broadly similar in demand to a GCSE grade C or above. I think that's really important, a really important message. So what does that enable us to do now? Well, the celebrations were over on Friday, because now we've got to move on and make this happen within our sector. And the challenges that we have had, the 43% of nurseries that were reporting being unable to find apprentices now can. We know that there was a decrease in the number of level 3 recruits. The Ofqual data showed 32% fewer certificated full and relevant level 3 learners in the first quarter of 2016 against the same period in 2015. And in addition to that, we know there was a 15% increase in level 2s. Well, having an increase in level 2s is great, but they have to be able to progress, and now they can. We also know that parents were heard within this. It wasn't just about our sector, it was about the parents whose children were being cared for. Parents were heard, and the government listened to what parents wanted. The Ofsted annual report published in December 2015 stated, when parents now research what is on offer for their children in their area, they will be looking at early education that has never been stronger. And I said that to you at the last event. The Ofsted report was then published in 2016, and this said 91% of settings were good and outstanding. And this is fantastic news for our sector. And it's fantastic news because those practitioners are all practitioners who didn't have their GCSE maths and English necessarily. They were learners who had primarily graduated prior to the requirement being put in place and are showing fantastic good practice in our sector. And that now can continue. So we can carry on and sustain a quality, skilled workforce. This skilled workforce improves fairer outcomes for children and their families, and it's at the heart of everything that we do and everything that we work for. The changes experienced by the sector as a result of the National College of Teaching and Leadership's full and relevant criteria have been accepted by the government as sufficient to raise and maintain quality when accompanied by a level 2 qualification in literacy and numeracy. And this bears out Cathy Nutt-Brown's report of More Good Childcare, where she said we want level 2 maths and English, and that's now what we've got. Transferring these skills into emergent literacy and emergent numeracy becomes the important factor, and one which, when undertaken skillfully, contributes to the child's future disposition to learning. And that's why the early years is so important. Thank you very much.